I want to talk about the biggest athlete in the world, arguably, and her name is Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark has officially begun her WNBA career. Remember, people, she was put on the worst team in the league, and they had a slow start. They just had their first win on Saturday against the Los Angeles Sparks. But she's doing fine entering the league. She is definitely getting what any rookie would get, paying her dues, if you will, get her some hard fouls in there and people double teaming her. But she's holding her own and she has a lot of my respect. And I am proud to say I am a brand new, genuine fan of the WNBA, but for the New York Liberty. And, with Caitlin Clark, obviously she has a lot of weight on her shoulders and she's a genuine star. And that has caused a lot of people to be jealous, to be blunt. Not only the players giving her a hard time, but hey, she's holding her dues. But we also see the media taking shots at her, which I'm very surprised, especially The View and one of the co-hosts of The View, Sunny Hostin, suggested that Caitlin Clark's popularity is due to pretty privilege and white privilege. The literal quote is, I do think she is more relatable to people because she's white, because she's attractive, Hostin said of Clark. All right, let me get my words out of the way, and then Ryan, you could say your opinions, and then we can put this to a head. Caitlin Clark is a very special athlete. One thing I have learned over the years is when it comes to sports, and I'll be frank, it's more than just men in the 4 major league sports and then stuff like that. There's stars everywhere in all sports. Seriously. I admit I wasn't much of a women's basketball fan at all. Of course, you respect the UConns of the world being dominated and all that, but I just wasn't that invested in it. Then comes Caitlin Clark from the University of Iowa, who, quite frankly, was the chosen one, but not because she's white, not because she's pretty or whatever. It's because she can ball. She's a great shooter. She can defend. She provides turnovers. She's a leader. And though she came up short to win a national championship, she really deserves the praise. And quite frankly, it did take the media to hand choose her to say, hey, look at this person right here. And I think rightfully so. And just seeing the media taking shots at her and making what's already quite the obstacle to overcome. Like, are you serious? Listen, I get the players giving her a hard time. That's for any major rookie in any sport.
Yeah.
And especially a star. And we'll see it from time and time again. And we talked about how now NIL athletes are going pro. And a lot of these players didn't get paid for their talents. And they're giving her a hard time there. But it's just pure. It's just so obvious that it's jealousy. Like, and it's just ridiculous. I am utterly shocked from what she said. I don't watch The View. I'm sure it's a great show. Shouts to Whoopi Goldberg. But like, she said it herself too. Like, what she said, Whoopi said, compared to Clayton Clark, that's like telling a black person you only got into an Ivy League school because you were on the basketball team. I might have misquoted there, but I'm paraphrasing. It's just, I just don't understand, Ryan, why they are giving this woman a hard time when she could genuinely ball, and she's on a team that's literally was the worst team in the league. That's what you get, the best draft pick. It just baffles me when we're trying to really empower these genuine women athletes, specifically here in the not college basketball, in the basketball game. Right. I just don't see why they're creating more obstacles. And especially once the NBA playoffs are done and hockey playoffs are done, when the WNBA only has baseball to compete with in the summer, I hope we could see more people, get more praise like that. But just why are people making it so much harder for her to really grasp and get ready to be in a new league? She is a professional athletes are 1,000 times better than collegiate athletes, even at the highest collegiate level. And it just takes time. But I just don't get why people are really putting their pettiness out there for somebody who is just trying to get used to her stardom while also trying to win a championship, I assume.
Yeah, I think part of it is so I don't know if we always want to put malice in place of ignorance, And I say that because I mean you do an amazing sports show. Everybody should listen to it. Again, in the middle of the two tweet caps. You
Thank
cover
you.
basketball often, especially now in basketball season. Um, and I am not one of the people on that sports show. Definitely not my particular
We got sports
area of
entertainment
expertise.
shows.
That's right. But I do
Hmm.
still watch, I grew up watching sports. I do still watch football, basketball on occasion, right? So
I
me
think
and
you're a
you,
genuine sports fan, Ryan. I really
well,
do.
thank you. Me and you though, like we know, like you said, we know the worst team gets the best draft pick. So if you go number one in the draft, the team that took you most of the time, unless there was some trading or whatever that went on, isn't that great
Yeah.
at the moment, right? That's why they picked you because you're really good and they need some really good players, and so that's how it's supposed to work. As you pointed out, nobody has watched the WNBA before. I know that's me generalizing. They have fans. They've always had fans. They have always had ways to watch. And now, for the first time, people are taking them up on it, right? They're buying the WNBA Sports Pass to watch all the games, and they're following the coverage of the WNBA, etc. So these people don't know how it works. These new fans, it's new to them. And so if you are a longtime sports fan, you might be able to catch on. But if you're brand new to sports at all and you're just following it because of the cultural phenomena that is Caitlin Clark, you may genuinely not understand what's happening. So I just
Hmm.
want to, for those people out there, that's an important thing. For anyone who doesn't understand why it's so different, it's because she moved to the professionals. Like, obviously, the professionals are good. And I think that's part of it too, is there was especially I think in a lot of male sports fans that I've talked to about this, there's an underlying kind of belief that the WNBA was bad at basketball, and that's not true. Like, you know
No,
what I
it's
mean?
it's a
Like,
completely different game.
right. So the idea that, oh, she's doing poorly, which must mean she's bad, stems from a belief that the people who currently play professional women's basketball are already bad at basketball, and that is not the case.
No.
So that's number one. So if you think that she's doing bad because she's not beating like seasoned veterans, it's probably because you don't give these seasoned veterans enough credit. Um, I won't go and say it's the same as calling, I won't compare it to any other lived experience for anyone else, but I do think it's so interesting because the media did create Caitlin Clark in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. Not saying she can't, she's a very good basketball player, but like they did kind of just pick her. I mean, the second overall pick for this year went to the Sparks. The people I believe they just lost to Caitlin Clark this weekend was Cameron
Yeah.
Brink,
Right.
who is also white. I would say, like she's whiter and maybe even more attractive, conventionally speaking, than Caitlin Clark. I don't know. She got the blonde hair, the blue eyes. That's like
Yeah.
how a lot of like if you're casting someone in like a movie about a pro athlete, that might be who you're looking for. So, I mean, they could have picked her. You know what I mean? Like the idea that they like just
Yeah.
picked her for no reason is crazy. Of course, they picked her for the reason of her being good, but she was picked. And so I don't know why they're not seeing it through. Why they're not covering this the way that they ought to be.
Like I said,
That's a
it
real
just to
shame.
me, it's just pure jealousy to be the one to literally rejuvenate a league and to get it
Right.
in the true mainstream. It's just pettiness, if anything. And
It almost feels like gatekeeping.
yeah.
I mean, we talk about fandom all the time on this show, because it's a culture show, right? It feels like the people who talk about the WNBA all the time are upset that there's so many new people who are now
Mhm.
talking about like us. Let's be honest, we would have
Yeah.
never covered WNBA last year. Like we've done this show for a while now. We never covered the WNBA. Now
Uh-huh.
we do. We've done Caitlin Clark stories a lot because she's popular. And so like I think it's almost like I feel like people are jealous, like you said,
Yeah.
like but not like jealous like they want to be Caitlin Clark. They're jealous of all these people that Caitlin Clark has kind of brought in. And they'd rather it be a small sport that only they watch and they can, hold themselves high and say, well, I watch women's basketball and I'm, a true fan of the sport and whatever. And like, no, everybody in that league wants to get paid. And that's
Yeah.
like Caitlin Clark is helping them do that. And it's not just Caitlin Clark. Like I mentioned Cameron Brink. I've seen her all over my timeline. I've seen God, the person who
Angel
was
Reese.
yeah, Angel Reese all over my timeline now. Like people are paying
Sabrina
attention.
Iacono is great for Liberty,
Right.
and
And
she's a veteran there.
but people are paying attention to the league now. So these other names, these other stars are like kind of getting their own little like bubble like of fans and support. Be like, oh, this person's good. Oh, that person's good. And like that's only gonna help. Like, that
Yeah.
really, there's no downside. And in terms of her, like obviously be better if she was winning. I get, and maybe like LeBron James, I'll use him as an example, kind of messed with people's like heads as to what a debut looks like because he had a fairly strong like entrance into the professional league. But like most, even like the top pros in all sports, but even basketball, like they don't start there.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
have to be very flush. Yeah,
Steph Curry is
nobody.
one of the best, but he wasn't anything special at the beginning. He had to work his way through. You know what I mean? Like he started as
Right.
just like a
The
specialty shooter, and then ended up
from
being one of the
Dartmouth
big stars. Yeah,
and with the old Golden State Warriors logo. And
yeah,
that all takes time there too, and going through different coaches and stuff. And like I said, we don't have too much time with this. We do have to move on to other
yeah.
things, but it's getting used to it for everybody, especially me, who's a very big sports fan. And
Mhm,
I got a while before I could really fairly cover the WNBA and
mhm.
getting used to this really if it's coming in its own. No, I mean remembering it's in the summer season and also just seeing the different storylines. I know it's been around since '97, so it's 26,
It's younger,
7 years,
younger than
long
us.
time.
Younger than
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
So the only thing I remember that Disney Channel movie with the sisters in the
I
WNBA.
do remember that.